My name is Chris. And this is Andre. And together we are Nerdgasm. We have, for the past 4 years, we had a show online called Nerdgasm on YouTube. So please go over there, click subscribe if you like monster toys, if you like collecting action figures in general. That would be the show that you'd love to check out. What else? What do we collect? Well,
a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
A little bit of everything. Go ahead and tell them what you collect.
Well, a lot of stuff I have is kind of like that retro stuff from the 80s. Things like the Masters Universe Classics, Star Wars, re-releases like G.I. Joe and Transformers, all that kind of stuff. Stuff that I collected as a kid back in the 80s. That's the stuff I'm mainly into. But of course I branch out into, of course, the horror genre, stuff like that.
And for me, primarily Star Wars. I have a Star Wars room in my house. I love Star Wars stuff, all the vintage stuff, most of the new stuff, and classic Universal monsters, which we've done a couple panels on that before. But we wanted to kind of move forward in time this time and talk about the new monsters, the new renaissance that happened. So I'm going to let Andre do some introductions, and then we'll move on through the decades.
In case you didn't know what we're going to talk about today, I think the t-shirt gives it away. I actually have a t-shirt with all of the icons here, and for those that aren't familiar, we're going to go over each one of those movies right now. So first we're going to talk about is in 1974, a film called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out. Yes. Written by Tobe Hooper, starring Gunnar Hansen as Leatherface. And Leatherface was, again, it's kind of loosely based on the story of Ed Gein, and it was basically an inbred family that ate people. And this was definitely like a groundbreaking horror movie because it not only did it introduce like the faceless, big, monstrous killer, it also introduced power tools as murder weapons. So that's what we have here going for that one. So again, that movie cost $300,000 to make. It yielded $30 million in domestic box office, and considered one of the best horror films in cinema history. 1978, John Carpenter's classic, Halloween. Yes, and that was the one featuring this guy, Michael Myers, The Shape. 1980, Sean Cunningham brought us Friday the 13th. This was the main killer, Jason Voorhees. 1984, Wes Craven gives us A Nightmare on Elm Street, starring Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger.
So let's get into the toys. Even though Texas Chainsaw Massacre
Was the first film in 1974, there were no toys for that. You know, the world wasn't ready for slasher toys. So funny enough, we didn't get a comprehensive bunch of toys until the 80s. Once the Nightmare, the end of 1989, and strangely Matchbox, the people that make the little toy cars, were the ones to make the toys.
But here's the unfortunate thing. It's like we want toys for these killers, okay? And I guess that was just something that the toy companies didn't want to embrace. They think it's kind of weird. It's like, why would they want like a slasher? So they gave us cutesy, stupid stuff like this. We got squirt gun.
That's a squirt gun.
This is a squirt gun. Okay? And he spits water. You like fill the back of his hat up with water.
The inside has an actual little plastic squirt gun.
Yeah, and then you squirt people.
And then it squirts out of it.
And there was some smaller action figures which were almost like plush-like, and I just thought they looked, by today's standards, like knockoffs.
Yeah.
But these were officially licensed merchandise from Matchbox and these other smaller toy companies, and that's all they were doing on Elm Street, and they made it cute. They made it kind of stupid looking, not really accurate to the movie.
They watered it down.
Mm-hmm.
But the funny thing is, the ironic thing is,
Freddy is a child molester, and kids were taking this to bed and sleeping with this child molesting, murdering pedophile. So that didn't go over quite well with a lot of the parents at the time in the late 80s, and so they started pulling these from the market. There was a big backlash, very similar to what's going on right now with Breaking Bad toys. Okay, I haven't heard this. This is Andre. This is from his personal collection, but I've not heard this doll speak since 1989. So I want to hear what he has to say. You guys ready to hear what Freddy has to say? That's all we get, 3 phrases. But anyway, hey, that was cool for the time.
We always have funny stories about how we got these and stuff. I didn't get this in 1980. I got it a couple years later, maybe like 92, 93.
Was it on the retail shelf still?
Okay, get this. It was like a comic book store. They were having an auction, and they were just letting things go cheap. Like they started the bid off at like $1, $2, and people would just like bait and switch people. It's like 2, 3, 4. They would get up like 20, 30, 40, 50, something like that. Opening bid on this. I think people knew I meant business. I said $5. And people were like, "Oh, he wants it." So I got him $5 in 1992.
We asked for 2 microphones. I wouldn't have, so this retails now for about, between $40 and $50 in box, depending on the condition and if it still works and everything. So that's a $50 item. Now, Matchbox, also in 1989, they made something else that was kind of special, and I wish I had it here. It was called Max FX. And basically, this was kind of loosely based on the Captain Action figures of the 1966. Basically, you had this hero, Captain Action, and he would dress up as all the other heroes. But basically, Max FX was a makeup effects artist guy, and he would dress up as these characters. So they were going more of the behind-the-scenes cinematic angle of it. And they had planned a lot more. They were going to make a Dracula. They were going to make an alien from the movie Alien. They were going to make a Frankenstein. Unfortunately, this was the downfall of Max FX because retailers and parents couldn't make a distinction between Freddy dolls. They're like, oh, this thing's evil, it's talking, my child's sleeping with it. The other one was more of an action figure, so they just pulled them and scrapped everything. So because of this, it destroyed Max FX, and that line did not continue, which was sad because I would have loved to see more of those.
That was it for a while. We didn't see any of these horror movie figures until 98. So let's just kind of rewind a little bit. We talked about this in the last panel. In 1997, Todd McFarlane and his McFarlane Toys branched out into the monster industry. They had the monster playsets, which were like his reimaginations of those classic monsters. So like the sea creature was the creature from Black Lagoon. There was a Frankenstein, a Dracula, a werewolf. And after that, he moved on. He made them larger scale, that 7-inch scale. Yeah. Then, in 1998, he launched one of my favorite lines of toys, the Movie Maniacs.
So 98 was a big year, and thanks to McFarlane, he really got the ball rolling. Not only did he raise the bar as far as sculpting and packaging and gore for the horror fans, he really made a lot of trends. And I have this old catalog from 1998. And remember, back then, there weren't a lot of online resources or anything. There were no toy reviews. There was no YouTube. So if you wanted to figure something out, you had like a couple action figure magazines or print material. You go to your comic shop and just talk about it and figure what was going on out there. So this was a promotional catalog. And in the back, towards the back, they teased the Movie Maniacs Series 1. And I got so excited, there they are, and I got so excited to see these guys. I'm like, oh my god, they're actually making a detailed Freddy Krueger 7-inch scale, a Jason Voorhees 7-inch scale. These two I didn't care about, but these two, I was like, yes! So that was really cool. Now looking at this, we didn't know what scale they were, so you kind of had to wait to see when they came out in the stores. Yeah, so that was the teaser page. And look at that photography and the detail, and nothing like that had been done. And it was the first time that all these monsters were under one, comprehensive figure line, under one banner, which was pretty cool. So, Series 1, we had Freddy Krueger right here, and I believe you have him in package, Now, also, something to note about...
yes, mine is signed. Yeah. Yes, they all autographed. It says, Andre Sweet Dreams, Robert Englund, and so you have the bloody... Yeah, these are the bloody versions? Yes. Okay, yeah.
There are 3 different versions of these. There was non-bloody, which, some of the other retailers could put out without fear or backlash of parents. And then there was the bloody, and then later came the super bloody, which not a lot of people know about the super bloody. But the blister on the super bloody actually had blood on the outside of the blister. Remember that? Yeah, and then they also had a little sticker right here that had a little movie poster.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would help tell you which ones were the super bloody, besides all the blood on the outside of the blister. So Freddy was the first one in Series 1. And articulation-wise, not much here. We're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 points of articulation. And, you know, as excited as I was when these came out, I looked at Freddy's body. I'm like, he's a little too tall. He's kind of got that stretched out, elongated look in the body. And his hat wasn't removable. And I like to have those removable hats. And the face sculpt wasn't quite as Robert Englund-ish as I would have preferred. You know, looking at that.
But it was our first action.
But it was our first action figure of Freddy, which was still a big deal, so I loved it. Also, in that wave came, you got him in package?
Oh yeah.
Jason Voorhees. Now, is this the bloody version as well you have here?
Yes, this is the
Yeah.
bloody version, yes. Yeah, I think, because what was going on here, the bloody versions, we can only find these back in the day at KB Toys. It was $9.99. At Toys R Us, you can find the clean versions, which was $7.99. So I bought both and opened the cheap one. That's what I did. Except for Leatherface. We're getting that in a second. I had to get the bloody version open to him. But, yeah, this is autographed by Richard Booker. Andre, best wishes, Richard Booker Chasen. So he did sign that at a past convention. But they also had the little movie posters in the back. That one has Jason Goes to Hell, but that's a Friday the 13th Part 3 figure. That's what's kind of weird about that.
And they all these came with
All these came with this kind of bone skeleton movie marquee, and the little movie poster would stick into that. But they all came with that. And also the weapons had the blood on them too, not just the figure.
All right, Leatherface.
I think this figure still holds up to this day.
And of course, this is autographed by Gunnar Hansen's Andre, you're next. Gunnar Hansen. And again, another story to tell about these bloody versions and stuff. The clean version of the Leatherface, no blood at all. He looked like a fat guy with a mask and a brown apron. I'm like, no, he's got to have blood on him. He's got to look like a killer. So that's why I had to get that one. And the funny story about that is, I couldn't find him. I was looking everywhere, couldn't find him. I finally find him on Black Friday at a KB Toys. So I found it. I'm like, no, why today? Why today? So it takes me an hour or two to actually buy it, and I have to have
So
it.
you waited in line for how long? To get that?
I think it was almost 2 hours. From when because I got there when the store opened, okay? Ran to like all the cool stuff that I wanted, not the sales. I didn't care about the sales. It was like Furbies and other stupid stuff. I'm like, no, I want the stuff I want to see. Star Wars and the McFarlane Lane figures, and I'm like, oh, there they are. And got in that line that wrapped around the whole store.
And then the next week they had 20 of them.
I call that the floodgate rule. Once you find what you're looking for, then it's everywhere. Everyone's going to find it now. It's not really anymore.
Okay, moving on to Series 2 of the Movie Maniacs. They made a Michael Myers, which was nice. So we each have one. I've got a loose one here, and you have the in-packaged one. Now remind me, did they make a bloody version of this or not? By the time Series 2 came along,
the variants by that point.
They weren't doing
They
it.
only did series 1 with those ultra bloody ones. That was it.
So when Series 2 came along, from there on out, no different versions, just the one. They still did include the skeletal marquee with the movie poster, and Michael here has his butcher knife and his jack-o'-lantern. In Series 4, they really wanted to go back and improve Freddy from Series 1, because a lot of fans were like, it doesn't exactly look like Freddy. Remember, he has that stretched out body, face sculpt. So they gave us this one, which was a much better likeness of Robert Englund.
And he's got the red sleeves, just from the first movie.
He's got the red sleeves, and he's got a removable hat, which was a nice touch. I really wanted that in the first one, so they gave him a removable hat. This one still has the bone marquee with the poster. Again, limited articulation. Now, all these Freddys, all this version of Freddy from this series, all had blood on them. There was no non-bloody or anything. All the Freddys had them. And I actually prefer this one, and the value of this one.
Yeah, it's a little bit more. Like the Freddy from Series 1 goes for about $30 to $40. You find them on eBay. The Series 2 is going to get set you back about $50. So.